The neighbors all say I am ruthless, burning my own birth chart to appease the dead. Later, Gu Yingzhe passed the imperial examinations with flying colors and married into nobility, only to flounder in both career and marriage. He collapsed drunk in the snow, calling my name over and over. Madame Gu came to my door demanding answers. Ah Yao, what curse did you place on Yingzhe to reduce him to such a wretched state? I smiled. You give me too much credit, madam. If I possessed such powers, would my parents both be dead, leaving me to scrape by running a paper offering shop? It was Gu Yingzhe who climbed the social ladder and abandoned our past, casting aside our youthful devotion without a backward glance. Now that he sees me thriving whilst he suffers and regrets, he begs me to return. How absurd. What makes him think I'd still be waiting? Those who forsake Shen Yao deserve nothing from the rest of their days. The day the engagement was broken, I was busy crafting paper figures. Old Mrs. Liu from the neighbouring street had passed away. Her filial children had ordered 8 paper attendants alone. Stark white paper, vivid red paint, the air thick with the smell of paste, Miss Shen. I looked up to find the Gu household steward blocking the doorway, hand covering his nose, undisguised distaste in his eyes. Yes, the steward produced a thin envelope from his sleeve, extending it at arm's length. This is the betrothal document you exchanged with our young master. Madam's decision is that the engagement should be dissolved. Your line of work is, after all, inauspicious. The young master's prospects are excellent. Best not to hold each other back. Why didn't Gu Yingzhe come himself? The steward's mouth twitched in a mirthless smile. The young master is in seclusion preparing for next month's palace examinations, studying day and night. How could he spare the time for such matters? I slowly extended my hand and accepted the envelope. On it, a match made in heaven was written in Gu Yingzhe's own hand. Once tender with affection, now cold as ice. Climbing high and forgetting old friends. Gaining status and breaking promises. He'd been absent for ages, his letters increasingly sparse and perfunctory. I should have seen it coming, but some foolish part of me clung to hope, thinking that gentle, steadfast boy might be different. In the end, I was the fool. The charcoal fire beside me was nearly out. I glanced at the clearly lopsided paperboy's head I'd been working on, then tossed it into the brazier along with the envelope. From this day forward, marriage and betrothal, we owe each other nothing. Flames leapt up instantly. The steward started. Miss Shen, what are you doing? One doesn't simply burn birth charts. How inauspicious. I ignored him, watching the fire consume the last corner of paper before looking up. Anything else? He cleared his throat. Also, Miss Zhang asked me to pass along a message. Now that things have come to this, she hopes you'll be sensible and not make a nuisance of yourself. Which Miss Zhang? A hint of pride crept into his expression. The Zhang family of Liuyi Lane, Miss Zhang Shuyuan, eldest daughter of Minister Zhang of the Court of Imperial Sacrifices. I nodded. Understood. Seeing my composure, the steward seemed rather deflated. After a few perfunctory words about taking care, he hurried away. I picked up the bamboo strips again, my fingers moving mechanically, but they were so stiff I cut myself. Strategic commentary. The breaking point: a woman who survived her family's destruction by making paper offerings for the dead. Her survival system stopped depending on any man long ago. When she burned that betrothal document, she wasn't just burning a marriage contract. She was burning her former self. Next, you'll see how she transforms bad luck into a scarce resource. It hurt like hell. My family once owned several shops in the West Market. We were well matched with the Gu family, who were also in trade. Gu Yingzhe and I grew up together. Our betrothal was settled early on. 3 years ago, Father said he'd earn me the most generous dowry. He invested everything in an overseas venture and sailed with the fleet. He never returned. When the wall falls, everyone pushes. Strangers appeared at our door with dubious eyes demanding payment. Mother fell ill from worry and grief, passing away soon after. To settle debts and funeral expenses, we sold our fields and shops. Only this remote paper offerings shop remained. No one wanted it. The mute woman who worked in the shop had once been an embroiderer. A fire destroyed her voice and her husband's family cast her out. Mother took pity and gave her work. After my parents died, she alone stayed, treating me as her own. I dismissed the servants and learned from mute granny how to make incense and candles, fold spirit money, craft paper figures, even perform funeral laments. Things ordinary girls avoided became my livelihood. The Gu family knew all this. During the hardest times, Gu Yingzhe stayed by my side. He even wrote mother's eulogy himself and helped arrange her funeral. I cherished him and was genuinely grateful. But times change. The Gu family might have turned a blind eye before, but now Gu Yingzhe had passed the autumn examinations. A merchant's son could enter officialdom. If they didn't shed this inauspicious burden quickly, how could he travel light and climb higher? People flow upward, water flows down, I understand. But I cannot forgive. All those years of moonlit vows, devoted affection, didn't they deserve an honest conversation? Or perhaps he assumed I'd make a scene, throw tantrums, threaten suicide, and cling to him. He underestimated Shen Yao. The next day, I walked in old Mrs. Liu's funeral procession. Neighborhood gossip drifted in with the scattered spirit money. Did you hear? The Gu family broke the engagement. Poor Miss Shen. Well, who'd want to marry someone in the death business so inauspicious? I saw her burn the betrothal document with a paper figure. Good heavens, isn't that cursing herself? Ruthless, family destroyed, engagement broken. Her temperament must have changed. I paid no attention, my expression serene. But when old Mrs. Liu's coffin was lowered, I somehow thought of mother's burial. Master Gu had advised then, "Ah Yao, you must observe 3 years of mourning before marrying into the Gu family. Why not pack a few things and move in now? You are not one to fuss over formalities." I wasn't fussy about formalities, but I had my dignity. Sneaking into the Gu household if circumstances changed, how would I manage? I declined with thanks, saying I'd support myself. Gu Yingzhe's eyes had been full of admiration then. When I returned home, he stopped me at the door. "Ah, Yao, don't worry. I'll wait 3 years. In 3 years, I'll bring 8 sedan chairs to welcome you properly. I'll study hard, enter government service, make you a proud official's wife. You'll never suffer again." I knew every word came from his heart then. That is why his silence now cuts deepest. A cold wind swept up the spirit money, stinging my eyes. My eyes burned and ached. Tears came, first drops, then streams. Then a flood. I wept without warning, with shocking intensity. Nearly unable to remain kneeling, the Liu family's filial descendants exchanged glances. Their previously perfunctory wailing suddenly became earth-shattering. For a moment, the crying at old Mrs. Liu's grave shook the wilderness, drawing stares from all around. The eldest Liu son approached, pressing a heavy purse into my hands. Visibly moved, "Miss Shen, truly thank you. I never imagined you'd be so sincere. Only I knew I wasn't mourning old Mrs. Liu. I was mourning myself. Consider it personally burying the past. I fell seriously ill after returning home, running high fevers every night for days. Mute Granny called several physicians. All said it was merely a common cold. Street gossip claimed I'd suffered karmic retribution for burning the betrothal document and wouldn't live long. Hearing this, Gu Yingzhe sent medicine twice through a servant. Not wanting further entanglement, I had Mute Granny turn them away. This apparently enraged his fiancée one day, barely recovered. I went out for colored paper and was cornered in Sephora Lane by 3 women who picked a fight unprovoked. First, they accused me of splashing mud on their skirt, then suspected I'd stolen a purse hidden in my basket. Finally, the round-faced ringleader whispered in my ear, "Best stop feigning illness for sympathy, making the young master worry. Know your place, you reek of death." I suddenly understood. These were Zhang family maids settling scores for their mistress. I wouldn't have argued, but they wouldn't let it go. Shoving turned to violence. Still weak from illness, I struggled desperately, but was outnumbered and pinned down. My hair came loose. My cheek burned. I lost count of the blows. I didn't cry out or beg for mercy. I simply stared woodenly at those twisted faces, struck by an odd thought. Look, this is the fiancée of the man I once loved. Jealous, domineering, underhanded Gu Yingzhe was blind and foolish to choose such a creature good for him. Shen Yao, why are you daydreaming?" A crisp voice interrupted my scattered thoughts. I refocused on a bright, slightly heroic face. The woman was Li Jiao, titled Ming'an, born into a military family. She enjoyed the emperor's favor and was exceptionally granted the rank of princess. Forgive me, your highness. I was suddenly reminded of old matters. I hastily curtsied. Enough. I detest all this ceremony. Bowing all day, aren't you exhausted? Princess Ming'an lifted my arm, following my earlier gaze. It overlooked the bustling Sofa lane. Shen Yao, were you remembering when we first met? The princess asked. Yes. 3 women had you pinned down, beating you. You neither fought back nor begged, that detached expression on your face. I remember it vividly. I felt rather sheepish. Your highness, I did fight back, I just couldn't win. She paused, then laughed until she doubled over. You were refreshingly honest that day. A long whip had cracked through the air. My rescuer was the princess. The 3 maids received a thorough thrashing and fled crying with swollen faces. The princess insisted on escorting me home, telling me to seek her out if I needed anything. I thanked her profusely. I'd assumed such a woman so far above me had acted on impulse. Chance acquaintances, how dare I presume? I never imagined she'd want to know me, befriend me, and change my life. Strategic commentary. Why? You'll see how she transforms this ally into a power lever. I admired your fragile appearance hiding a steel spine. Later, discovering you were bold, meticulous, and vengeful made you even more interesting, the princess teased. My ears burned. She was referring to my revenge on Zhang Shuyun that day. The princess had ridden me home on horseback. A crowd had gathered at the lane entrance. Seeing my disheveled state, mute Granny gestured frantically, tears streaming. I consoled her repeatedly, coaxing her to make me a large plate of meat dumplings. That evening, Gu Yingzhe's servant brought pastries to console me. Fury rising, I strode to the door and flung my still warm half-bowl of dumpling soup over him. Tell your master I consider him dead. Stop haunting me. The servant stammered. The young master is confined by madam to study and cannot leave. Hearing the Zhang family troubled you today, he felt guilty. Can he avenge me or make Zhang Shuyun compensate me? I glared. I am being troubled precisely because of him. He stared at his shoes, silent. I regretted snapping at him. He was just running errands for his master. I tried for calm. Tell Gu Yingzhe, if he is going to be a coward, stop playing the good man. Tell him to mind his own business and stop making my life difficult. I shut the door firmly. Gu Yingzhe was ill. He avoided me and severed ties, yet couldn't let go. But his lingering attachment made Zhang Shuyun direct all her resentment at me. She didn't reproach her fickle fiancé, she trampled me, the abandoned one. Why should I accept that? Though born humble, I am no soft persimmon for anyone to toy with. The angrier I grew, the more I recalled those 3 maids' appearances and clothing. I stayed up crafting 3 palm-sized paper figures with grotesque faces. One had an extremely round face with bleeding eyes. Quite frightening. On the 2nd day of the 2nd month, when noble ladies visited Siyun Temple outside the city, I bought a street urchin's cooperation with Candied Hawthorne, having him toss a package into the Zhang family carriage. Tell the young lady it is from young Master Gu, she must open it herself. Apparently, Miss Zhang's usual composure shattered that day with a piercing scream that spooked the horses. The panicked horses caused quite a commotion. Zhang Shuyun was helped from the carriage in tears. Days later, Princess Ming'an graced my shop with her presence. She immediately asked if I knew about Zhang Shuyun's public humiliation. He admitted it was my doing, which surprised her somewhat. Paper figures expose you immediately. You don't seem stupid, why? I curtsied quickly. Please forgive me, your highness. I played the fox for once. The princess had publicly defended me and escorted me home, sparking rumors that Shen Yao had latched onto a powerful patron, Zhang Shun, guilty and fearful of the princess's status, dared not speak out even knowing it was me. But our enmity had deepened considerably. Ha! I see. The princess laughed heartily. The fox borrowing the tiger's might, so I am the fierce tiger. I lowered my eyes. I presumed upon your highness's influence. I await your punishment. Stand up. It is nothing. I despise bullying behavior most. She had it coming. She picked up a paper ingot. then poked a paper figure's face, showing no disgust or fear. You were skilled. These paper figures are remarkably lifelike. After that, she dropped by whenever free for casual conversation. Growing closer, I learned she'd lost her mother young and spent most of her time with General Lai in the northwest. The palace ladies had coaxed and pressured her back to arrange a marriage. The princess had few friends in the capital, finding noble ladies affected and pretentious. She kept to herself, frank by nature and fond of good wine and food. She conceived the idea of opening a tavern, knowing I'd grown up in the capital and knew the terrain, whilst her status made reconnaissance and haggling inconvenient. Today, she'd invited me to view properties in the southern district. Did you know Gu Yingzhe placed second class in the palace examination? The princess's tone carried disdain. I nodded. The Gu family beat gongs and drums, set off firecrackers. A servant deliberately circled my door 3 times. Petty man's triumph. The princess snorted coldly. She'd never met Gu Yingzhe. Her disgust stemmed from hearing about my broken engagement and Zhong Shuyan's harassment. She was indignant on my behalf. Warmth flooded through me, though I didn't know what to say. She said no more, simply patting my shoulder lightly. After the tavern opens, come be head manager. The wages won't disappoint. I looked up sharply, scarcely believing it. What, frightened? The princess raised an eyebrow. I've made inquiries. Your father ran a successful business, including taverns. You absorbed it all. Whilst other children played in mud, you were already working an abacus. But I've been in the death business. I worried about others' reactions. You are not afraid of dealing with the dead, but fear the living. Shen Yao, you are meticulous, steady, with an unyielding spirit. I am an excellent judge of character. The princess's eyes shone. I am not playing at this on a whim. My stubborn old father won't let me join him in battle, saying women of age should marry and raise children. I want to prove that even without warfare I can find purpose. Shen Yao, do you want to craft paper figures forever? Look forward, that is where the path widens. Give it a try. Look forward, that is where the path widens. The words struck like revelation. Yes, clinging to the paper offerings shop was survival. But wasn't it also self-imprisonment? Confining myself to this tiny space, trapped in gossip connected to the Gue family, time to break free. In that case, I presume to ask your highness one thing, I curtsied. Speak. The shop has done well. I've saved some silver. I'd already considered changing trades but lacked direction. Please allow me to invest. I'll ensure your highness profits handsomely. The princess pointed at me. Well, Shen Yao. They say all merchants are cunning. Your abacus certainly rattles loudly. I smiled silently, my gaze steady and sincere. She paused, then tapped my shoulder with her fist. Granted. However, since we've agreed, we must establish rules. I'll provide 70% of capital, you 30%. Future profits split accordingly. Operations require your management, as my time is limited. Agreed. Naturally, I agreed readily. The following days, I barely touched ground. Days were spent visiting the capital's major taverns, consulting familiar proprietors. Nights found me hunched over my desk, relying on memories absorbed at father's side, writing and sketching, lists of equipment to purchase, numbers and requirements for cooks and staff, menus and pricing for the first 3 days, even contingencies for potential troubles, item by item, matter by matter. All meticulously planned, knowing I was embarking on big business. Mute Granny felt both joy and worry, quietly rising at night to bring me clothes and hot tea. I felt unprecedentedly fulfilled and satisfied. But someone had to spoil it. Strategic commentary, strategy contract structure. Shen Yao leveraged 30% capital for 70% resources. What does the princess need? Their needs complement perfectly. This is precision game theory in essence. Next, you'll see how Shen Yao uses this platform to execute a dimensional strike against Gu Yingzhe. When Gu Yingzhe's lean figure appeared at the paper shop door, I felt momentarily disoriented. This was our first meeting since the broken engagement. Once he'd often lean against the doorframe, smiling as he watched me fold paper flowers. He'd pour me hot tea, asking if I was tired. Same scene, different world. I set down my brush, regarding him calmly. Master Gu, what brings you here? Ah, Yao, tomorrow. I am getting married." He extended a bright red invitation. "Oh, I didn't take it," my tone flat. "Congratulations on your excellent match, Master Gu. Tomorrow the tavern opens. I cannot attend. Surely you and Miss Jiang don't need my gift money." "Ah, Yao," he stepped forward, suppressed excitement in his voice. "Have you nothing else to say between us?" "Between us, the slate is clean. If there is nothing else, please leave. Tomorrow's your wedding day. Aren't you concerned about bad luck lingering in a paper offerings shop?" "Ah, Yao, you've changed so much." His eyes reddened. I laughed coldly. Brother Gu of years past became Master Gu, didn't he? What in this world doesn't change? "I had my reasons, Ah Yao. Father's health has declined these past 2 years. The Gu family business has suffered. I know nothing of commerce. The civil service was my only path." "What has that to do with me?" I interrupted. "You were nowhere to be seen when breaking the engagement, yet you personally deliver the wedding invitation." "Gu Yingzhe, what do you take me for? Found someone new and want the old flame to weep." Gu Yingzhe froze. "You know I am not like that. I truly didn't know you were like that before." I stared at him. "Having chosen Miss Jiang, go live your life properly. Stop playing the devoted lover here. It displeases Zhang Xun and disgusts me. You haven't secured your position yet. You should keep your head down, anger your wife and father-in-law, and watch your efforts come to nothing." With each word, his face paled further. After a long silence, he finally turned and left. Mute Granny looked worried, gesturing for me not to be upset. I smiled reassuringly. "Granny, don't worry. I am not upset. I'd shed my last tear for Gu Yingzhe that day at the funeral. From now on, I'd smile every day." The tavern occupied an excellent location across 3 floors. The rosewood signboard Drunken Immortal Pavilion in gilt characters. The princess's own calligraphy. Opening day was tremendously lively. After consulting with the princess, I deliberately hired many women. Xing Niang, who greeted guests, had worked at the neighboring fabric shop. Cast out by her in-laws for bearing no sons, she struggled raising her daughter alone. At Drunken Immortal, she earned steady income and could keep her daughter close. Little Wu, who served tables, was an orphan, clever, sweet-tongued, quick-footed. Widow Ning in the kitchen had exceptional knife skills, slicing tofu into threads. These women were more meticulous and diligent than men. Dressed in matching tunics, they moved about with smiles, a heartening sight. These women whom fate had wronged found security at Drunken Immortal and became my staunchest support. The tavern's rapid success rested on 3 pillars. First, ladies' private rooms. I had screens installed for privacy, providing mirrors, incense, spare clothing, even 2 maids trained in hairdressing. Noble ladies spread word that Drunken Immortal understood women. Second, new dishes every 10 days. 3 new dishes launched each 10-day period. Popular ones remain. Unpopular ones earned customers who tried them a complimentary dessert. This showed sincerity whilst giving patrons a sense of participation. Third, staff profit sharing. I allocated 10% of monthly surplus as bonuses distributed by performance. Servers remembered regular customers' preferences. Cooks developed new dishes, even cleaning women worked with extra care. Business success affected everyone's purse. 3 months in, business flourished. Nearly full every day, watching the daily climbing figures in the accounts, my confidence grew. One night, I dreamt of my 14-year-old self. Father and mother were alive then. Youth knew no sorrow. Under the apricot tree in the rear courtyard, Gu Yingzhe tucked an apricot blossom in my hair. "Ah, Yao, I know you dislike constraints in future. When I have leisure, I'll take you traveling. Would you like that?" My eyes held only this handsome youth, my heart sweet as honey. But the word yes stuck in my throat. I woke to moonlight streaming through the lattice window onto the account book. Rising, I pushed open the window to view the silent street, lanterns dim. It felt like another lifetime. Recently, the Guyu couple visited once. They hadn't reserved a head. Yet Zhang Shuyun insisted on a private room. Xing Yang, in difficulty, came to fetch me. My first glimpse of Jonghyun, dignified features, elaborate dress, but the profusion of jewelry weighed down her neck, appearing rather forced. Drunken Immortal opens its doors for business yet refuses customers. Jonghyun sneered, looking down on people afraid we can't pay. Gu Yingzhe tugged her sleeve. Shuyun, forget it. She shot him a fierce glare. He lowered his head. I suppressed amusement, speaking clearly. Madam exaggerates. Drunken Immortal welcomes all guests. Even royalty must respect this rule. You are welcome another day. I'll certainly reserve a room to your liking. Many customers looked over. Zhong Shuyun wanted to continue, but Gu Yingzhe gripped her firmly. He hastily bowed to me, practically dragging Zhong Shuyun out. Apologies for the disturbance, we'll return another day. Outside, Zhong Shuyun complained in a low voice. Why did you pull me? What is so special about a common merchant woman? Unless you still harbor feelings. Gu Yingzhe's expression darkened. He said nothing after they'd gone. Xing Yang fumed. What sort of people? I was perfectly polite, yet she berated me. The capital's full of officials. One can't walk without tripping over them. Who does she think she is? Indeed, people flaunt what they lack most. Apparently, the Gu household wasn't faring well. I hadn't intended to pry into Gu family affairs, but taverns are natural gossip mills. Gu Yingzhe, from merchant stock, had passed the examinations young, quite accomplished. Growing up on these streets like me, he was more grounded than privileged scholars, so local gossip frequently featured him. The Hanlin Academy seemed prestigious, but was actually a battlefield of fame and fortune. New graduates were divided into 3 ranks. First rank entered the academy directly. Second and third ranks required a court examination. Though Gu Yingzhe passed the court exam, his merchant origins made him a money-reeking upstart to colleagues from scholarly families. His father-in-law, Minister Zhang of the Court of Imperial Sacrifices, held a ceremonial position managing rituals and banquets. No real power, offering no career assistance. Zhong Shuyun had been attracted to his refined appearance, but over time grew to despise his insufficient wealth, inadequate salary, and lack of tenderness. Their harmonious days were brief before discord arose. I knew such detail not just from street gossip, but thanks to the princess. At leisure, she'd had people investigate, treating the Geo couple's life like a storybook. Shen Yao. You don't know, married barely 6 months. Gu Yingzhe's practically aged into an old man, constant domestic chaos aside. He is failing at the academy, frequently reprimanded by superiors. The Gu family sought to climb through marriage, not realizing true aristocratic unions require equal standing and mutual support. The Zhang family struggles itself. How can they help him? The princess drained her teacup. Satisfying, isn't it? You must be delighted. I smiled, my feelings complex. In youth, I'd thought Gu Yingzhe's handsome features and gentle courtesy made him an ideal lifelong companion. These experiences revealed serious character flaws. The examinations were a ladder for the humble. Marriage was crucial family investment. Gu Yingzhe wanted to climb socially but lacked ruthlessness. He'd abandoned true affection yet couldn't bring himself to pursue the glory he craved. Stuck in the middle, unable to advance or retreat. Being cast out forced me to find another path. But compared to his married life, my immediate business mattered more. Human hearts are fickle. Only silver in hand is reliable. I never expected that after the year's first snow, I'd encounter an old acquaintance. At dawn, opening the shop, I found Madame Gu's carriage across the street. No Zhong Shuyun was now Madame Gu. This lady should be called Old Madame Gu. I hadn't seen her in ages. She looked haggard. Who knew how long she'd waited in the snow? Her face was blue with cold. I invited her in, poured hot tea. It took time before she recovered. My son, her voice trembled. Since breaking your engagement, Yingzhe hasn't had one smooth day. I said nothing, waiting. He excelled in the autumn examination, but only placed second class in the palace exam. At the academy, his peers advance whilst he stagnates. We thought marrying into the Zhang family would provide support, but they ignore him. Zhang Shuyun constantly suspects Yingzhe still thinks of you, picking fights daily. Today she is outshone at tea with friends. She takes it out at home. Tomorrow she wants new jewelry. If Yingzhe hesitates, She weeps on the spot. My poor son, carrier store, home in chaos. Now he is like a madman. Last night he collapsed drunk in the rear courtyard snow, calling your name endlessly. If servants hadn't found him, he'd have frozen to death. Growing more agitated. Shen Yao, was it you? Did you harbor resentment, placing a curse when you burned the betrothal document? Otherwise, why would my obedient son become this wretched? I nearly laughed aloud. Old madam, you credit me too highly. I craft paper offerings. If I could curse people, would my parents both be dead, leaving me to scrape by with a paper shop? Then why burn the betrothal document? She demanded shrilly. With a paper figure, who uses their own birth chart to honor the dead? You did it deliberately. I regarded her twisted, agitated face, suddenly feeling rather sad. I burned the document because the engagement was void. Keeping it served no purpose. I burned the paper figure because it was poorly made and an eyesore. I spoke deliberately. As for why Master Gu struggles, do you truly not know? Her breathing hitched. When the Gu family rushed to attach themselves to the Zhang family, did you consider whether they'd value a poor scholar? Zhang Xun is spoiled and willful. When you fawned over her to secure the match, did you consider whether she'd make a good wife? Gu Yingzhe pinned his prospects on his in-laws' patronage. When that failed, did he reflect on himself? You come asking if I cursed him. Better to go home and ask your son. When he broke faith, did he consider today? When he couldn't reach high branches, did he work diligently? When marital discord arose, did he try to reconcile? The Gu family's predicament results from your own missteps. It concerns no one else, least of all ghosts and gods. Old Madame Gu covered her face, weeping. You do resent us, you do. I don't resent you. I cut her off. Resentment wastes too much energy. I must manage the tavern, balance accounts, plan ahead. Where would I find the time? I truly had no time. Recently, the princess complained that palace pressure about her marriage was intensifying. She wanted to return to the northwest. I'd just opened a new batch of fruit wine and poured her a full cup. Watching her frown and mutter, inspiration struck. Does your highness want to open Drunken Immortal in the northwest? No, not just a tavern. Her eyes lit up, lethargy vanishing. The northwest has furs and medicinal herbs. If we could open western trade routes, profits would be immeasurable. I have military connections to ensure caravan safety, but I don't understand commerce. She looked at me. Shen Yao, would you come to the northwest with me? Drunken Immortal's capital branch will continue. You can find someone to manage it. In the northwest, you'll be in charge. We'll split profits as before, you 3. Me 7. No, for the new northwest venture. You 4, me 6. My heart raced. The princess's proposal ignited something within me. The northwest, completely unfamiliar territory, yet a place father had mentioned before his death. He'd said it held vast deserts and solitary smoke, long rivers and setting suns, boldness and opportunities unknown to the heartland. But I remained clear-headed. Drunken Immortal thrived in the capital thanks to the princess's prestige and behind-the-scenes influence. The northwest was far from imperial reach. Local powers wouldn't sit idle whilst outsiders encroached on their territory. Not to mention opening western trade routes meant threatening countless purses. Your Highness, I steadied my excitement. This might work, but the risks are enormous. The princess's gaze burned. Shen Yao, I know your concerns, but if we always play it safe, why did we bother starting? Staying in the capital, living comfortably, marrying some man, taking his surname, becoming a shadow, would you accept that? Her words struck my deepest core. Number, I wouldn't accept it. I'd been interested in commerce since childhood. My parents' death showed me human nature's coldness. I wanted to establish myself on my own merit, so when people mentioned Shen Yao, they'd think first of a formidable merchant, not anyone's appendage, regardless of gender. Your Highness, I need time, 10 days, no 7. I'll produce a detailed plan, not just opening a tavern in the northwest, but the entire trade route concept, risk assessment, countermeasures. The princess slapped the table. I knew I hadn't misjudged you. That night we drank and talked until midnight, both somewhat tipsy. It was my first glimpse of the princess's vulnerability. She said she was favored for the Lai family's military achievements, but also constrained by them. Though father loved her, he wanted her to live like an ordinary woman seeking lifelong security. Palace marriage pressure appeared to find her a good match for comfort, but actually kept her under the emperor's watchful eye. If she married some nobleman with prestigious status, but no accomplishments, everyone would be delighted. Shen Yao, I won't accept it. I know most men are fickle, but I've also seen father never remarry after mother's death. That is devotion. Li Jiao, don't seek wealth or glory. I want to marry someone upstanding and like-minded. Do what I love, live freely. If I can't find that, what is wrong with dying alone? Tell me, is this a fool's dream? My heart ached. Yes, what young woman doesn't dream of romance? I'd once imagined a lifetime with one person, only to be slapped by reality. Now, love was icing on the cake. Not essential. Women are born into difficulty. Take one step, you must think 3 steps ahead, but with firm resolve and courage you can fight this world. I gripped the princess's hand. Your Highness, if this is a dream, we'll fight with everything to make it real. You stood up for me that day, pulled me from the mire, gave me opportunities to prove myself. Shen Yao vowed long ago to earn money for your Highness for life. Whatever lies ahead, I'll be at your side. The princess froze, eyes misting, and squeezed my hand tightly in return. I paid handsomely for Northwest geographical records, trade route maps, and product catalogues, then consulted several old merchants who'd traveled the western regions. Days were spent managing tavern business as usual. Nights found me poring over maps and materials, running scenarios repeatedly, how to choose locations balancing safety and convenience, how to assemble caravans, how many guards, camels, horses, goods. What did the Northwest lack that we could transport? What did Western kingdoms need that we could bring back? How to handle checkpoint taxes along the way? With local powers, should we clash head-on or bind interests? Every question concealed countless details and potential risks. I tried applying father's teachings, plan before acting, mutual benefit, to this larger game. On the 7th evening, I delivered a document filled with dense, tiny script to the princess. Her expression grew solemn as she read. Willing to partner with capable capital merchants and official families, distributing dividends by investment proportion, sharing benefits, correct? I nodded. Bringing them aboard our ship, binding interests together, they won't sabotage us but become allies. Yet control remains with your Highness. Reaching the end, the princess exhaled deeply, looking up with admiration. Shen Yao, this isn't a business plan. It is practically a territorial expansion strategy. Your Highness flatters me. Armchair strategy is easy. Actually doing it, every step will be thorny. I shook my head. I know. The princess closed the document. But having this gives me confidence. Tomorrow I enter the palace. 3 days later, an imperial edict arrived. Princess Ming'an was permitted to establish trial border trade in the Northwest. With a 3-year term, an additional line stated, interested parties in the capital may invest and assist as appropriate, demonstrating the court's principle of sharing benefits with the people. The capital buzzed. A woman in commerce, and imperial family no less unprecedented. Apparently it was all that Miss Shen from Drunken Immortal's idea. She wrote the entire proposal. Markable, a paper offerings shop orphan with such vision. Her family were merchants originally, just fallen on hard times. With the edict issued, major merchant houses rushed to call on the princess, earnestly expressing willingness to serve the nation and provide full support. Drunken Immortal's threshold nearly broke from traffic. The princess pointed at the calling cards, laughing sardonically. See, this is power and profit. I smiled too. Perfect. Saves considerable trouble. She looked at me seriously. Shen Yao, I made bold claims before the emperor 3 years. If I can't produce results, I'll have to marry that useless brother of consort Shi. I mimicked her gesture, fist clenched. I'll die before letting you marry a wastrel. Departure was set for the 16th of the first month. Around New Year, Drunken Immortal was especially busy. I rushed to complete the handover. Mute Granny was too old for such journeys. I needed someone reliable to care for her. On the 23rd of the 12th month, little New Year's Eve, after closing, I was alone at the counter doing final accounts. The door opened. A strong smell of alcohol rolled in with the cold wind. Looking up, I saw Gu Yingzhe, unexpected. His blue brocade robe was covered in snow, hair disheveled, eyes rimmed red. "Ah Yao, they say you are leaving." I closed the account book, responding flatly yes. He stumbled forward 2 steps, tripping on the threshold, awkwardly catching the nearby table. "Things are fine in the capital. Drunken immortals doing so well. Why go to that harsh place in the northwest? Is it to avoid me?" "Number." I looked at the bloodshot in his eyes, suddenly feeling rather weary, "because there is something I want there." "What do you want?" He stared intently. "What concern is it of yours?" I raised an eyebrow. He froze, fumbling in his robes to produce something and place it on the counter. "Ah Yao, look. This cloth doll you sewed for my 10th birthday. I've kept it all along." I glanced at the faded, tattered doll without speaking. "And the lock of hair you cut into a sachet when you came of age, I've kept it close to my heart." His hands trembled, words tumbling out incoherently. "Gu Yingzhe, what exactly are you trying to do?" I couldn't help interrupting. "I regret it, Shen Yao." His eyes reddened further. "I deeply regret being weak-willed, listening to my mother, breaking our engagement. Regret marrying Zhong Shuyun. Regret not coming to find you sooner." "But what if I were still destitute?" I sneered. "If I were still stuck in that paper shop, reeking of incense and spirit money, rushing to wail at funerals in heat or cold, scraping together pennies, would you still regret it?" His mouth opened, but no sound emerged. "Gu Yingzhe, I finally understand why you passed the examinations and married an official's daughter yet live so miserably. You are too greedy, you want everything. If you'd married me then, you'd have resented my poverty, my inability to advance your career, my inauspicious status embarrassing you in public, just as now, having married Zhong Shuyun, you resent her spoiled temperament and extravagance, her lack of gentleness, her failure to understand you. You are never satisfied. You even blame everything on your mother, never considering your own faults." His body swayed. "It is not like that. It is not. Ah Yao, I truly care for you. From beginning to end, that hasn't changed. But I no longer care for you, Gu Yingzhe. I once thought we'd grown up together, understood each other thoroughly. If you'd been honest then, I'd have understood your difficulties and sincerely wished you marital harmony and career success. But you didn't dare face me, wouldn't even write a letter. You sent a steward to casually return the betrothal document. Did you consider how hurt and helpless I felt then? Now that you are struggling, you remember me. What makes you think I'd be standing here waiting for you? Do you deserve it?" His face went deathly pale, as if he'd been slapped hard. After a long silence, he hastily gathered the items from the counter. "Ah Yao, it is my fault. I wish you a bright future." With that, he turned and stumbled into the swirling snow outside, never looking back. I watched that retreating figure, exhaling slowly. The last ripple in my heart finally stilled completely. On the 16th of the first month, dawn's first light, the caravan assembled behind Drunken Immortal. The princess, in practical riding attire, personally inspected the cargo. Old Joe stood at the entrance with all the staff to see us off. Several women I'd helped dabbed secretly at tears. "Safe travels, Manager. Manager Shen, if there are good furs in the northwest, remember to bring some back for us. Sister Shen, take care not to get too sunburned. When you return, we'll throw a grand banquet to welcome you." I acknowledged each one, handing Old Joe the final accounts and keys. "Uncle Joe, I am entrusting this place to you." Old Joe accepted them solemnly. "Manager, rest assured, I'll look after Drunken Immortal. You and Her Highness will surely triumph in the northwest." The princess swung onto her horse, reining it in, a carefree smile playing at her lips. "Let's go, Shen Yao." I took one last look at Drunken Immortal's red and gold sign, then turned and climbed into the carriage. The wheels crunched through snow, slowly moving forward. I lifted the curtain, watching the gradually receding lanes, buildings, and city walls. This place had buried my family, witnessed my destitution and struggle, and nurtured my rebirth and hope. Now I was heading for broader horizons. There would be sandstorms, endless Gobi Desert and brilliant starry skies, and infinite possibilities. Guyingzhi, Zhangshuyun, capital gossip, past love and hate, all would be left far behind, turning to dust. The carriage passed through the city gate, leaving that prosperous yet heavy city behind. Ahead, the rising sun painted the winding official road and vast sky in brilliant colors. The princess rode up beside the carriage window. Shenyao, once we reach the northwest, first thing you must learn to ride. Then I'll take you galloping across the Gobi. We'll each have a flask of wine, chasing the sunset. Now that is freedom. Yes, Your Highness, I won't disappoint. I smiled in response. Haha, you've never disappointed me, Haya, she spurred her horse. It leapt forward gracefully, her figure soon merging with that golden glow. I extended my hand outside the carriage window, letting the slightly cool early spring wind fill my sleeve. In my palm, I held Shen Yao's future, strategic observer, value reassessment and conclusion. Dear rational thinkers, the story ends here. Crafting this tale, I deliberately designed an asymmetric game structure. Gu Yingji's every choice depleted existing resources. Betrothal, connections, reputation. Shen Yao's every choice created incremental value skills. Commercial empire.